Hey everybody, welcome back to the Fearless Artist Podcast. This is your host, Michelle Lynn, and today we're doing part 2 of a conversation that I had with French pianist Dimitri MALIGNAN. If you heard part 1 last week, we started the conversation around how he has essentially become his own manager and pitches for gigs, concerts, and is booking them across the US, Canada, and now coming up in Asia because of things that he learned doing our mastermind and how he changed his mindset and started taking initiative. So if you want more concerts, if you want to learn how to become your own manager, if you want to learn how to send pitches and proposals, make sure you listen to the full conversation. Today, we're going to be getting more into the details of what to say, how to follow up, and how to build relationships with these presenters who can get you the opportunities that you want. Enjoy the conversation. As always, make sure to screenshot, share it to your stories, and tag us, the Fearless Artist Mastermind. And we'll see you soon. Be fearless. Hi there, and welcome to the Fearless Artist Podcast, where we empower classical musicians to build their own thriving careers. I'm your host, Michelle Lynn, and together with Deanna Petre, we teach artists to conquer the entrepreneurial side of their careers and create the futures they want. We are two freelance classical musicians who have lived and worked in Europe for a decade, and together we started the Fearless Artist Mastermind, a coaching company created to teach classical musicians how to overcome fear and take action on building their dream careers. In each episode, we will explore the intersection of artistry and entrepreneurship, teaching you the fearless mindset with practical steps and strategies to build a sustainable career. Get ready to build your own artistic brand, find a supportive community of musicians so that you don't have to figure out everything alone, and earn a living that you deserve. We believe that you can be a thriving artist and not a starving one, and we are redefining what it means to be a classical musician in the modern era. Okay, so with this US thing, can you talk a little bit about like your entrance angle, and if you want to mention like the collaboration with Lily, because that's like a really cool story.
Yes, and one thing I can mention too is the importance indeed of collaboration. So you mentioned Lily Arbisser, who is a great singer I know from the US. And for example, we just started exchanging some emails some years ago because of my, so I have this project, Missing Voices, dedicated to the works and lives of Jewish composers who were persecuted in the Holocaust. And that's a very dear project of mine I've been handling for the last 5 years now.
What was your master's thesis?
It was my master's thesis, and it just developed to be, the project of my life, basically. And I've been doing CDs and concerts and all kinds of nice things. And Lily was also interested in this kind of repertoire. She was doing her own concerts back in the US. Started exchanging ideas.
And then she found your documentary on YouTube.
Precisely, and she reached out on my website email address, which I never check.
But that's crazy that someone, because people are always pushing back on posting and sharing and content. And so you put your documentary up that you created with your thesis. Complete random stranger in the US finds it, emails you, and then...
So one of my big, the thing I started to realize a lot in the last years is that big things rarely happen like on the first encounter with someone. Like it's never when you first have an exchange of emails or when you first meet a presenter or whatever that something happens. It's always after a couple of times, 3-4 times, after many years sometimes, that actually something develops. So you have to be super patient. You have to consider that this is a marathon. We are not doing a sprint here. So
unless you're doing the social media sprint, which is our 6-week program for social media, we will teach you how to make an artist brand, content creation. And I have a story about the sprint after that I want to share. So yes, no, it's important because one of the girls in the sprint just got DM'd by Laverne Cox, who has 7 million followers and was on Orange is the New Black. And they were done. Anyway, very cool things happen when you start posting, which we will talk about your content later because your content's also taken a interesting turn.
Yeah. And so Lily reached out to me. We exchanged emails. I had a project of a concert in New York. I wanted to perform with her. Didn't happen. Then the year after, I was supposed to go to Canada for some concerts because of the Montreal competition I won in 2021. And I got a gig in Montreal. And I said, yeah, why not try to reach out to Lily again and see what's possible to do in the US? Because, it's nearby while you're on the continent. And then she had some ideas because she knew some venues and places, and we had some couple of concerts last year. And then we repeated this experience this year with even more concerts. So it's very important to reach out to musicians who have, like especially as a pianist, if you reach out to singers or string players or wind players who most of the times they need actually a pianist. So it's good to collaborate with them because they will have ideas for concerts and they will need a pianist. So then you can collaborate, you get to meet so many people, you get to perform and to make new connections. And then you can also, of course, offer yourself to perform with these musicians. So, for example, I've been collaborating in Europe with a lot of musicians as well, with another singer, Elisaveta Grafenina. We did a CD together, and with also violinist Sarah Bayans. We did 3 concerts in France in January. And, it's a 50-50 thing, the collaborator has concert ideas, you have concert ideas, and then it's just very important. So of course I know many people already do chamber music because they love chamber music, and I love chamber music as well, like genuinely. It's not my main activity. My main activity though is playing solo mostly. But I love to do that just to get to meet so many people and to just play with people you actually love.
So you're saying that you find venues, people to pitch to intuitively, but how do you keep track so you don't forget, oh yeah, I talked to them about a project? I mean, that's where things can fall through the cracks.
I do forget. I'm not perfect. So that's why I probably need some more sessions from TFA, but I'm getting better at that. Trying to get more structured. I'm trying to, sometimes I have Google Docs where I put, the list of people I've reached out to or I want to reach out to.
Yeah.
And
can we jump to the follow-up strategy? Because I know that this is one of the main things you said you learned from being in the mastermind. What is the strategy for you? What are your angles? And then I'll share a little bit about what I've done recently.
I mean, I know that some people would say, like after 1 week, you have to follow up, or after 2 weeks or whatever. I don't have this clear pattern in my mind. Like I just follow up when I feel like it's a good time. And when I also have time, when I have clear mind, because that's also something we discussed a lot in the mastermind is how do you, handle your time between practicing, which for a pianist is many, many hours per day, and doing all the admin work, which for me was always a big stress. Because when I would practice, I would think nonstop about, my emails. And when I would do my emails, I would stress about not practicing.
Yeah, exactly.
So I learned also to handle my time a bit better.
I think you do that exceptionally well now, if I know how you've organized. Because you just had this huge concert last week in Italy. For me, it's like I get in these phases of I'm so zeroed in on an upcoming program that I can't do anything else. Like last night I played this new Mozart program in Lyon, and it's like I couldn't handle anything else. My brain is so full. Like I can't even look at emails or messages, just annoy me because I'm like, I have no brain space for this. I can't do half and half or something. It's like a week of this and a week of something else.
It's very hard. I mean, I still have difficulties, but I'm trying to get a bit more organized. And one thing I learned to do also is to handle my energy levels a bit better. So
yeah, we talk a lot about that.
Yeah.
In the mastermind.
So, during the practice when I have high energy levels, because that's the most demanding in any case, mentally and physically. And doing the admin when I'm low on energy, but I know my practice wouldn't be so great anyway. So I can just put myself in front of the laptop. And to follow up, basically, just when I have time, when I feel it's a good time, and I would just, you mentioned about what do you say. So I think it's always a little bit awkward to say, so did you read my email? That's a little bit passive aggressive also, like you remind the person that they forgot to read your email or to answer. I'm usually saying, have you had time to consider my offer? Which is a little bit more diplomatic,
You are very diplomatic with your writing. That's true. Yeah, that's good.
One thing I learned from you is in this collaboration mindset with the venue is that you have to pat them on the back a little bit too. You have to show them interest and show them that you are genuinely interested in performing with them. not that they understand that you are writing the same email to 100 venues.
Yeah.
So I'm trying always to be a little bit specific according to what they usually program, what musicians they usually have. And I'm trying to just give a little compliment, like, oh, I love your series because, whatever. And,
just showing general interest. I mean, everybody listening to this needs to read How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. It's from the 30s. It's outdated language, but the concepts ring true. Show interest in the other person. Be specific. Show them that you actually care. A little bit of empathy. I am assuming you're busy. Yes, thank you for giving the presenter a little bit of grace. They're getting hundreds of emails all the time. And if you come in with a, did you see my email? It's just going to be a little bit more annoying for them. It's a nagging thing rather than coming in as a generous, hi, just wondering if we could chat.
Yeah. And one thing also I started to do, which, because I found it was a waste a bit of time, when you send like your full CV or your full biography or presentation document, whatever, they never have actually time to read through all of this. So if you just give a few bullet points in the email of whatever achievements you have, or just give a link to your website if you have a good one, and they will make their own mind about it. Like I stopped doing the full resume thing because they never have time to read through it. And if they actually answer and they are, responsive to what you say, then of course you can send more information and get into more detail. And that's a thing also, like we discussed about how you handle the fee question with the venue. Again, that's something you don't want to bombard on someone on the first email, like, hi, my fee is that, please hire me. You have to be a little bit smart, a little bit, gracious. And at the second or third email, you start talking money, and see. First, you have to see if you have a good contact with the venue, and be flexible in any case.
So many people skills. I teach this in my entrepreneurship class. I tell them all the time, like, you need two things to make it as a musician. You need to be really good at your instrument, and you need to know how to talk to people. Because all of this back and forth games, and it's not manipulative. It's just like the art of relationship. Like, hello, get to know each other, connect, build the relationship first. And then, as you're saying, like, fees come in later at a later email. And then, well, maybe people listening would say, well, then how do you know if they're even within budget? Like, let's say your concert fee is $700 or $800 and their max is two or three. How do you not waste your time pitching to venues that weren't even worth it in the first place?
Yeah, I mean, of course, there's a bit of hit and miss. And sometimes the conversation is dragging a little bit too much. And then when you actually mention the money issue, then they say, actually, we don't have that budget. Okay, that's too bad, but it is how it is. I mean, it's something you have to go through.
And would you play for less than your fee currently? How do you make that decision?
So it depends a lot on, like, first of all, is it an extra amount of time and preparation to do that concert? So what I've started to do is that whenever it's a concert where, I can choose the program myself, the repertoire myself, for example, when it's free program and it doesn't add on my plate too much preparation, I'm happy to do it for a lower fee. That's fine. I just need also the experience to play and to get to know people and
to use it for next opportunities.
Exactly. And for content also, if you can film and you can have some good social media content. And in a post-COVID era, it's important to play in any case, because we had a couple of years of not playing. So it's good for your artistry and musicianship to play. Whenever, they start to be like specific on the program, like they want this piece or, it's or if it's in a period where you're playing a totally different repertoire, you have someone, asking for something specific, and it adds a lot of time and preparation, then you have to consider what is more valuable, because time is money, so if you waste, I mean, in quote, if you spend, let's say, more time on this concert, but the money you earn is not worth the time you spend, then maybe the concert is not worth it, unfortunately.
Or if you'll get to play the rep multiple times. Like, last night for me at Candlelight, he had written and said, can you learn this new Mozart and Chopin program? And I was like, Yeah, sure, but can I do it a bunch? Because it's so hard and I would love to play again. And currently they don't have it booked another time, but I said yes because I was like, you know what? I need to learn this for me. I should just be able to play this, perform these pieces. This is good for my development. So that helped me make
Indeed.
that decision.
And then if I would be obliged, let's say, to get this concert because it's a good concert, even if it's with a different repertoire, then I would be, of course, glad to have the money that I would consider is right for the amount of time spent for that. So then
Right.
I would get into that discussion with the presenters. Like, and you do it graciously, you don't go like, hi, my fee is 1,200. I say, based on similar concerts I had in the recent month in similar sized venues or festivals, the usual fee was 1,200.
Also, that's social proof for the presenter to know, like, oh, this is current market rates. This is what he's getting in other places. So if I'm paying less, I should be aware that I'm paying less at least.
Exactly. I had an experience like this very early on in my career. So I was probably 20 or something. And there was a festival. They invited me and they said it's 150 euros. And I said, listen, guys, I mean, it's quite low compared to other similar gigs, like even in France, I must say it's quite well paid. Generally in festivals, they always give, 500, 600, it's kind of the average. So 150 was very low. And they said, yes, but we are not a big festival. We are not La Roque d'Enterron. And I said, that's not true, because there are some smaller festivals who also give 500, 600. You don't need to be La Roque d'Enterron to give 500, 600, because 150 is the price, is the money you give to the piano tuner for 1 hour of work. So they consider that you go play a concert, it's 1 hour of work, but of course it's the whole hours you put up before of preparation.
But if they're concert presenters, they shouldn't even been thinking like that. They should know what it takes us to get on stage and present and perform.
And then they said, since you are, such a big shot now, they said we are increasing to 250. Very, very nice. Thank you very much.
Since you're such a big shot, wow, that could have been like them being very passive aggressive to you about that.
And that's the experiences, when you're a young artist. And unfortunately, I didn't have guidance back then. I got, as I said, I was fresh out of conservatory competitions and everything. And I was in the mindset kind of old school, from your teachers. But yeah, you do all the courses, you win competitions and everything will go well. Yeah. No, absolutely not.
I had that too. They're like, just, practice really hard, work hard, it'll be okay. Like, oh, okay.
No. So I wish
I didn't do the competitions you did. So yeah.
I wish TFA was there 5 years ago, but.
What other follow-up strategies do you have besides email? Will you do anything else?
So I'm not a phone person. I know many people are phone people, but I never phone because I find it a little bit intrusive. Also, in a way, like if it's someone okay, maybe, but if it's someone you don't know, I find it a little bit intrusive to call.
You didn't grow up. I'm a lot older than you. You didn't grow up how I did, when like your best friend would phone you every day because that's how we talked. I mean, phoning is very normal. You just phone. But I know. I think now it's like more of an arrangement. Like, can I give you a call sometime this afternoon? You send that as a text,
Exactly.
and then they agree, and then now you have to like agree
Precisely.
to call people.
But I don't push too much. If they're on social media, and that's something you taught me actually, I try to, put a like, put a comment, DM something if they post a story, whatever. Just to
DM something unrelated. This is the golden key. If you have listened this far into this podcast, which is the longest episode we've ever done, then here's your golden ticket. Okay, you write them about something. They post a funny story or something about politics that you agree with or whatever it is. Just like give a thumbs up, give a fire emoji, be like, yes, this is awesome. Their dog. Oh, what a cute dog. Anything to get you front of mind on them. And then they're going to think, oh yeah, I meant to get back to you. Here she is.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, that's a very efficient tip. But then if I see, after 2 or 3 emails that they actually didn't reply, yeah, I just leave it like that. I'm not worried that much about it anymore.
Yeah, I recently had this thing where somebody came to a Candlelight concert and then spoke to you after and asked me to come play at his summer festival. It's for like a huge amount of people. So he asked me, could you play for 5,000? I was like, of course I can. And then he took my card and I didn't get his email, which was dumb, but I had to DM someone else to get his name. And then I started harassing him via multiple channels. I emailed his website, no answer, emailed his, went on Facebook, added a friend request, no response. Then Instagram, also no response, but he's like 70, so I don't think he uses it. Then I commented on his post, hi, I sent you a DM, still no response. And then 3 days ago, LinkedIn, I sent the message and got an answer back. Hi, Michelle, haven't forgotten about you. Your business card's sitting on my desk. I'm like, that's great, but that doesn't help me get booked. So please, But anyway, I learned this from Ari Hairstand, he's in the pop world. And he has this book called How to Make It in the New Music Business. And he said, follow up until you get the no. Until they say no, we are trying to get a hold of them because, again, they might be busy. And if they're not interested, they can just tell you that it's not a good fit. But you need to know that because you don't want to let these opportunities fall through the cracks simply because of miscommunication or disorganization, which unfortunately many musicians struggle with.
Yeah, I had one story like this actually with LinkedIn. So I was trying to find the person through like 5 different networks, and I ended up on LinkedIn. Then he gave me a number on Telegram of all systems. And then I ended up having a gig in Asia. And sometimes, like as I said, for example, for one presenter, I stopped following up after like the 3rd email, especially that it was a bit annoying because the person was saying that they wanted to have me on a concert. Then I followed up, like, so what are we doing? No answer. 6 months of nothing. Then I get a phone call on Christmas Day at
That's a good story.
1 p.m. lunchtime. Christmas Day. Can we do a concert in January? So yeah, you never know. Our career is crazy. I mean, we expect the unexpected sometimes.
Christmas Day. Okay, yeah. I mean, we can have you back on for another episode around boundaries, around how to contact people. I once had a composer FaceTime me at 11 p.m. I was horrified. And then he hung up immediately. So of course I text back like, hi. And he's like, oh no, I was just doing the thing where I needed to save your number in my phone. So I hit dial so that I would have the number. And then could add you as a contact. I'm like, you FaceTime me at 11 p.m. I've never met you. I've never spoken to you. Anyway, let's talk about your content strategy. It's taken an interesting turn. I think you posted today playing in your house coat.
I mean, yeah, you've enabled the fearlessness, I'm afraid. So
when you came into TFA, what was your content strategy and what is it a little bit evolved to now?
I had none. So that was also something that was interesting to me in TFA was the social media aspect of things. So I knew you also had guidance in this field.
Well, my guidance is literally DMing 50 musicians who are hiding in their stories and saying, make this a reel. What are you doing? Make this a reel.
So I was really anti-real.
Yes.
Before, so I thought it was a hassle. I didn't know how to work the thing on Instagram. I didn't know about CapCut, Canva, whatever. I was like, this is taking way too much time.
Are you using Canva for social media? Because then we need to talk.
I am.
You are?
Yes.
Canva?
Are we still friends?
How are you doing Canva? Okay.
I do. It's okay.
Okay, we'll talk later. It's gonna be a personal phone call. Like, please let me help you with why are you using Canva? Anyway, continue.
It was taking way too much time. But one thing that I learned was that you don't need to necessarily post fancy reels. You don't need to spend 5 hours on doing a fancy reel if you don't have like the proper tools to do it. If you're not a geek, a nerd, and you know exactly how to do the fancy reels and you have time for that, or you have an assistant doing that for you. Like you don't necessarily need to do that. You just do something simple, but very consistent. You post more regularly. And then when I started doing this, it grew my engagement quite considerably. And people were, engaging and responsive to the content, which I think at first I was posting mostly serious stuff, like exams from my concerts or whatever. And then I started posting more, let's say, funny stuff. And that's another side, also I want to show on social media is that we are normal people, we have our lives, which are, not always so dramatic and so serious, and we can also have fun on the way, and people have
And
been.
what's the response when you're more open? And what kind of content are you talking about?
I mean, practice reels have been very efficient. Showing.
Yeah, I mean, you did the Killing Perfectionism in Classical Challenge.
Showing the behind the scenes a bit. Like not everything is perfect, and trying to be a bit distanced with the whole seriousness of being a musician. That's what people want to see also on social media. They want to escape a little bit the whole drama in the world.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, exactly.
they need some uplifting, funny things as well. So yeah, posting in my robe was a controversial move.
I mean, I was a bit surprised, but okay.
But I mean, I've been pressured by some coaches. I remember in the summer there were the pajamas also.
Okay, Amelia in our Fast Forward membership is also posting pajama reels. So it was like this big joke on the calls of there like a few people posting, because most people in Fast Forward have done the Killing Perfectionism in Classical Challenge. I think that's how I'm actually making a course around this. It's going to be my first digital course. It'll be for the membership only, around how to shift these mindsets of what you've described on this episode. I mean, the transformation that you've gone through. I mean, I don't think I realized. I know your story in bits and pieces, but it's a lot to hear how much has changed for you, and how I think how quickly you kind of grasped the concepts and then ran with it too on your own. I mean,
no, because again, I had all of these intuitions in a way. Like I knew more or less how it worked, but I never really took action.
It's like you needed permission or something.
Yeah,
or
I need confirmation, validation. Also, it's important. We are sensitive people, so if you have someone supportive, and TFA has been an extremely supportive community for me. So that has enabled me to be more open about my art and fearless.
Wow, that was beautiful. Well, thanks for sharing everything. I think there's so much gold here. What's one thing that you want people to do after listening to this episode? What's an action point?
Of course, for those who are not familiar yet with the TFA's programs, I mean, I really encourage you to check it out, because I mean, either it's Fast Forward, the membership, Sprint, Mastermind, coachings. I mean, there are different aspects, and I'm sure you can find something that is interesting for what you need at that moment, as it was important for me back then, and it still is. And second of all, is just to get out there, be fearless. Just don't overthink everything you have to do. Like the important is just to get your art out there.
Yeah.
So on social media and by email to presenters, just do it. Like the famous shoe brand, just do it, and results will happen. But don't overthink. That's important. I was an overthinker. I still am to a certain extent. And
how do you deal with rejection if you send the 400 emails you don't hear back?
Of course, it's never pleasant. But rejection as a musician is something we have to deal with in any case all of our lives. Like we have more rejection in a month than most people in a year, or even in many years, because we are freelancers. So of course we don't have, I mean, some people have stable jobs, of course, they are teachers or have orchestra positions, but as a freelancing artist, you have to get a new contract every time you have a concert. So you deal with rejections. You deal with the rejections in competitions all the time, in conservatories, with your teachers. You are getting criticized all the time. So that's something I learned to protect myself from, in any case, from a very young age, and to just, when there is criticism, always take what you feel is constructive. Just forget immediately about what's not. And it's the same with rejection, like it's nothing personal. I mean, sometimes they actually don't like how you play, but it is what it is. You're an artist, that will happen.
Yeah.
That's part of the deal of being an artist. You cannot please everyone. You try to please most people, but you can't please everyone, and that's part of the deal. So just have to live with that and be a bit more distanced with this situation.
Yeah, if I could change, I was thinking about this yesterday. If I could change one thing, I would just try to tell myself, don't let things touch you so personally with this.
Yeah.
and keep this distance with the trying ideas, trying rejection, trying projects, trying to talk to people and not taking it so sensitively. It's so hard to separate yourself from your work though, because we care so much.
I mean, of course, sometimes it's not fair, when they don't invite you, but they invite someone else who has less qualifications, let's say, than you have.
Yeah.
You feel it's not fair. But that's life.
Do you go on your social media and complain about it if that happens?
No. I mean, one big thing I learned is not to complain and just to, you're upset about it for 2 hours and then you move on.
No, I'm only saying that because I've recently seen so much negativity and complaining on social media. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's like the political atmosphere. People are just a little bit more worked up, but it's like people are wasting so much time and energy focusing on the wrong things. So
yeah, I mean, like one of the most important moments in my career. So when I was doing competitions, I did the Rubinstein competition.
Yeah. Please tell this story. Actually, yeah.
So about rejection and about how we handle that. I did the Rubinstein competition. I didn't pass the first round. And I learned about that in the evening. And the next day, because it was COVID still, so things were happening a bit online and with recordings and everything. The next day, I had to record the first round of the Montreal competition. So I remember I was at home.
That's Montreal for everyone who can't understand what he's saying.
Montreal, yes. I was at home, evening. I didn't pass the first round of Rubinstein. I was quite upset about it because I thought I did a great job. I played quite well because sometimes, of course, you're not happy about how you play, but that time I was quite happy about how I played. So I found it was not fair, but still, I had to play Montreal the next day. So I had to recollect and focus, because if you just complain about it, then you never get out of this negative spiral. And I remember my parents were there and they were like upset also about it because they're parents and they care. But I told them like, just chill, because I have to focus for tomorrow. And I went, passed the first round, and then I went to the finals and I won the third prize, audience prize, and bar prize. I played the same pieces as in Rubinstein, more or less the same way, I imagine. So again, you cannot please everyone. You can't please everyone. A jury didn't like, the next jury liked.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how I deal with the rejection. I just take it with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, that's good. And some doors are going to open and then you just run at those doors. I mean, you won the Bach prize and now you have a Bach album and then you got, reviewed from there and that's built up to your CD releases. I mean, you have more CDs out than I think any artist that I know, for sure your age. I've always been really impressed and surprised at that. That's why I think that's why everyone thinks you're older when you're on the calls. Or maybe it's the beard, who knows?
Maybe, but the listeners cannot know that.
Well, this is going on YouTube, so if you guys want to see the hair and the beard, go check it out on YouTube. Hey, thanks for everything. You've shared a lot of wisdom. Any final thoughts? Anything else you want to add?
Be fearless.
I didn't coach you to say this. No, but it's nice that you've even taken on more like a facilitator role in the Fearless Artist now too. So just to show people, like, things can change very quickly when you start investing in yourself, taking yourself seriously, presenting yourself, getting strategies, getting focused. I mean, all the things you've done. I mean, your playing's always been excellent. So it's just been a matter of putting these other strategies and boundaries in place to get you some momentum forwards. And yeah, what's coming up for you?
So I have some concerts in Italy this spring coming up. Very nice program with Schumann, Robert and Clara Schumann, Brahms as well. And then, I have this Asian tour in autumn with concerts in India, Thailand, Cambodia, Malaysia. So that will be super exciting for my Asian debut. And CDs coming up. So with this Missing Voices CD series I'm working on with a French label. I'm the artistic director of that series. And so we have one CD coming up in September and another one at the end of the year. So that's all very exciting.
Dimitri, thanks for being here today. And it's a pleasure having you in TFA.
Likewise.
I'll see you on the call on Tuesday. Thanks everybody for listening, and make sure you go follow Dimitri on the socials. He is Dimitri MALIGNAN. Is that right?
That's perfect.
Okay. Dimitri MALIGNAN on Instagram. Go follow him there. And of course, thanks for listening to the podcast. Let us know what you loved about this episode, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye, everybody. Be fearless. Thank you for listening to the Fearless Artist Podcast. If you found today's episode inspiring, hit that subscribe button and don't forget to share this podcast with a friend. To join our membership or one of our coaching programs, visit our website at thefearlessartistmastermind.com. This episode was produced by Pokey Huang at PH Media Studios in New York City. We're Deanna and Michelle, encouraging you to create your own opportunities and to go after what you want. You have what it takes to build the career of your dreams. Until next time, be fearless.